Ladies and gentlemen, what's poppin'? It's your boy Sim. I'm here with Tony Crow, Savvy D, and we may have a couple other people join us. But we got a good question to discuss tonight. We all know Nas just dropped King's Disease 3. It's an amazing album, in my opinion, and I think most of us that are joining this chat will agree that it's an amazing album. But 21 Savage, who I think believes the album is dope, I don't know, but doesn't believe Nas is relevant to hip-hop. As currently, he's saying he doesn't believe Nas is relevant, right? But see, to me, I guess we'll talk about what relevant is. Let me get around, say what's up to everybody, and then we'll get into it, all right? Because, you know, that's a broad spectrum. It's a broad topic, something that's worth discussing. Tony, what's popping with you, bro? How you feeling?
What's good, Sim? Shout out to Savvy. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is Time. Yeah, man. I got a lot to say about this, but you know, I'll let you get the rounds going and we get into it.
Yeah, no doubt. Savvy, what's good with you, brother?
I'm all right, family. You know what I'm saying? Back for another one. Had to jump in on the topic, and I'm looking forward to really sorting this out because there's a few really good topics buried within this one topic.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of topics buried within there, and I want to hear what people have to say too. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure there might be some people that start listening in that say that believe Nas ain't relevant. So I want to hear what you got to say. You can call in 516-362-5212. I'll let you know when those lines are open so that you can call in, you know, because we want to say a few things first. All right, let's get with it. I'm going to play 21 Savage when he says Nas ain't relevant. All right, I'm going to play. I got a couple of clips here that I'm going to play, you know, a few topics that we'll get into within this entire topic. But he says Nas ain't relevant, and here it is. Listen up.
What y'all saying relevant, though? I don't feel like he's relevant. Not relevant. He just has a loyal-ass fan base.
Thank you.
He just has a loyal fan base that and he still make good-ass music. What y'all saying relevant, though? I don't feel like he's relevant. Not relevant. He just has a loyal-ass fan base.
Thank you.
He just has a loyal fan base that and he still make good-ass music.
All right, so there you go. You heard him. He's not relevant. He just has a loyal fan base and makes good music. To me, having a loyal fan base that comes out to support you is relevant, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm not understanding. I don't understand, you know, in this group, you know, there's a mix of young people and older people, right? 30, maybe under 30, 40, et cetera, et cetera. If you got a loyal fan base that's coming out to support you, that's relevant. I guess I'll get you, you know, what do you think about that? And then we'll talk about what relevance is. All right, go ahead, Tone.
Well, first off, you know, when you sent me the clip, I said, "Oh, he's just promoting the album." You know what I mean? Trying to stir up a little bit of controversy, let people start talking about him, and then and he got the new album out as well. So I think that's what that was about initially. Still kind of believe it. As far as relevancy, this is the most relevant he's been, or at the very least most consistent. 4 albums, 3 years, back to back, short period of time.
Right.
I think he's picked up new fans along the way, so I think that point was kind of mute. And I think, I think 21 was just trying to get people to talk about him.
Talk about him,
yeah.
right? That could be. And knowing, because my whole thing is, if Nas ain't relevant, why are they even having a conversation? You wouldn't have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, if MC Hammer dropped the album right now, would you have a conversation about MC Hammer? Probably not. You know? I mean, in my opinion, I don't know. But I think it goes into what relevance is. Savvy, talk to me.
Yo. Well, it definitely goes into what relevance is, because I feel like, coincidentally, the term relevant is not even relevant anymore, because now, how do you measure that? Are we talking about streams? We must be, because we're not talking about radio play no more.
Right.
All right. So if it's streams and say, for example, he puts out a vinyl like he has done with the past albums and he gets good sales, those are better than streams. I haven't seen a lot of vinyls or what have you sales numbers, but that's better than streams to me. So if we're talking about streams, then you can go and stream whatever artist you want to hear. If you have a loyal fan base that streams your music and keeps your stuff moving, then that makes you relevant as well. And in my personal opinion, he is still relevant, because I went to the New York State of Mind tour a few months ago when it came down here, and I can tell you that he does something a lot of rappers can't do, and that's get a good reaction from crowds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of rappers cannot do that. A lot of rappers come out here and the crowd is kind of like just sitting there looking at them, not really knowing the words, not too engaged, right? And when you can move a crowd still, like the old MC term means, you're still relevant.
I'll give you another prime example of why he's relevant. Go across YouTube and just look up these content creators who do album reviews or first time ever hearing reviews, and listen to the guys, all ages, but mostly young, because it's a young demographic that break down these albums and break down these old Nas records and whatever. All of them become instant fans, every single one of them. And you know what I mean? And it's not like that's what their reputation is, to just listen to a record and then automatically say I like it. They give their honest breakdown and opinion, and then they start digging deeper into the catalogs. So I think he's more relevant than he's ever been.
Yeah. No
I
doubt about
agree.
it. I agree. I think, the argument of what relevance is, because down below it says, is Nas relevant to hip hop? And maybe that's the wrong title to have, because it's clear that he's relevant to hip hop. I mean, I guess that should have said, is Nas currently relevant? Right? So anyone checking it out, put in your mind, is Nas currently relevant? And I mean, well, let's listen to what they say when they ask the question about what is relevance, right? What is being relevant? What does that mean? All right, check it out.
I don't know what y'all consider relevant, so maybe I used the wrong word.
Relevant to
Ain't
me,
nobody
21.
under 30 waking up checking
Maybe.
for Nas.
That's
I
a
don't know.
fact.
That's
I hate to
Relevant.
say it, bro.
You
I'm
be
keep it
under
real
40.
with you, family.
That's not
I'm
a
gonna keep it gangster with you, family. I mean, if you want to say for the young kids, you can have that, because I can't determine who's listening to Nas in the age bracket. But people are checking for Nas when people been asking for King Disease 3 since like Magic or whatever the case may be. So we have been checking for Nas and have been fucking with Nas.
facts. But
Yeah,
when you
but I'm
check
saying,
that
Donald,
demographic,
that's
bro,
because
who was asking for that?
Hey, but
Okay,
All right, one mic,
that's
one
because he
mic,
got a
one
core
mic.
fan base, bro.
but this a thing though, bro. That means he's still relevant. Because if he wasn't relevant, that means wouldn't nobody be checking for this
That's
man.
for
Period.
his core
Facts.
fans, my
No,
nigga.
but it still means
That
he's
ain't what
relevant, bro.
relevant mean, though,
It
bro.
ain't.
That's not what
No,
relevant.
that's not relevant means to you.
Nigga,
That's a
that's not what
different, bro.
relevant means, period, nigga.
Oh man, yeah. Bro, no, that's
Okay.
not what it means to you, homie. Like I said,
Bro.
Hey,
Hey, so let me say this real quick though,
So
shoot.
right?
think about it like this.
Music
Think about it
All
like
right,
this.
so
music is
look,
broke down in
let's say I
different
started
generations.
rapping in 1995, and in 2022 I do a concert, and all my fans that were my fans in 1995 are there. Am I relevant, or do I just have a loyal fan
That's just a
base?
core fan base, bro. A
That's a
loyal
core
fan
fan
base.
base.
That's all it is.
Let me say
Hey,
this.
Real quick, can I
So
throw
in
this
other
in?
words,
I
Hold on, one mic.
One mic.
I
Let me say something about
think
that
relevant would
though.
be like
I
him
just went
doing
to
what
One
is
mic.
going on
One mic. I just went to
Bro.
Nas show. Last month with the him busting Wu-Tang. And the age range that he talks about on this project when he says the ages of the motherfuckers from 50 to 60 to 16, that shit is 100% accurate. Like walking through the crowd or walking even to the venue, women, men, white, Asian, black, Latino, and every fucking age range from 60s down to teenagers is in that bitch. And when I think about relevancy, I'm looking at it like, is it pertinent? Yeah, because he's talking about shit that's happening now. Is it important? Yeah, because it's defining. It's still encapsulating artistic value. So yeah, I think this shit still holds relevancy. Niggas got to stop equating relevancy to age. That's ageism. Like that's still practicing ageism and shit. So is it relevant? Yeah, and he still does that shit at a high level.
All right, there we go. Does it matter if you because you heard 21 say if I made albums back in 1995 and then I do a concert in 2022 and my loyal fan base from all those years come out, does that make me relevant? Yes. Because if not, just like dude is saying, that's ageism. If not, then what you're saying is if your fan base is over a certain age, you're not relevant. And then that excludes that fan base from hip hop, right?
Or saying they don't come out. Like even if the venue's sold out, it don't matter if they all 70. You know what I mean? If it's sold out, it's sold out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how does, like, now if you can't sell out a venue and you got to do a smaller venue because of, you know what I mean, because you can't fill it or something of that nature, then that would make it relevancy. But even to his point, now you gotta tell me you've been to a Nas show and you looked into the crowd,
right,
and you seen who was out there,
right?
You know what I mean? Like the gentleman said, he was just at one and basically said that's what it was,
right?
So
you know what I'm saying? Savvy. Any thoughts on it? I mean, is it ageism what they're saying, or is there any relevance to? In order to be relevant in hip hop, you've got to appeal to the crowd that's 30 and younger in order to be relevant. Because they always say hip hop is a young man's game. That's what people say. I think that's changing now, obviously, clearly. But is there any relevance to that statement there?
There you go. To that statement that he's not relevant? No. I mean, well, think of it this way, right? He's having an impact still. You feel me? Like he's still having an impact and being like a part of the conversation. Like there's anticipation for the music still, right? And it doesn't matter who it's coming from. And the point is even invalid from the standpoint that he still does apply it to that age group that he's talking about. Because like I said, I mean, when I was at the show, I saw young people younger than me, and I saw people older than me, and they were all loving it. I think we underestimate how many people who are in that age group, that 18 to like 40 something, whatever age group, 50 something, we underestimate how many of those people still show out and like participate in the marketplace of hip hop, having an impact on like the outcome of like awards given out. I mean, this guy won a Grammy recently. You feel me? Like just a couple years ago.
Right.
There is no which way that he is not relevant, and the market that you are serving, if there's still your original fans are showing up there and there's younger fans and you have multiple generations of fans coming out to see you, that's called superstardom. That's something that a lot of these rappers never ever reach ever.
Let me ask you this: so if you go to a Nas and Wu, so on, concert, and there's fans there that's 16, 17, 18, how much of it? And I don't think this takes away from relevance at all. I actually think it adds to the relevance. How much of it is, a dad taking his son, yo, we're gonna go check out Nas. I want you to see Nas. I want you to see Wu. I want you to see Busta. Or uncle, taking, uncle's 45 and his nephew's 18. I'm gonna take you to go see this Nas concert. You know what I mean? How much of it you think is that?
I mean, I think through the years that has definitely happened. You know what I mean? But that's part of it. You know what I mean? Like like the song, man. It was the first time you heard your first Nas song. You know what I mean? So it might, you know what I mean? It might have been KD too. You know what I mean? The first time you heard a Nas record.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, but the point of the fact of the matter is, I would bet at least 85% of the people, when they hear him for the first time, they go and dig into the back catalog. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like so, and I think they're pleasantly surprised. So I think his relevancy has only grown. You know what I mean? Like from the mystique, from the, you know what I mean, to kind of not being in the public, to kind of now thriving in the public.
Mm-hmm.
Even outside of music, he's been more relevant than he's ever been. You know what I mean? Kind of somewhat of a blueprint for some of these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it goes into the mindset of, it starts to look into the mindset of younger artists. 21 Savage is 30 years old, right? Is he 30? I think he's 30, right? I think so. You know what I mean? And it just makes me ask the question, is that what younger artists believe? Or maybe it's just him. Because, when you look at, if you ask Drake that question, I don't think Drake would, and not that, 21 brought this up himself. Drake wouldn't say Nas is irrelevant.
And that's what I'm saying. Drake probably called him. What, you know what I mean? Like, once he heard that, like, yeah, what are you doing? Like,
right.
Like, what do you, come on, you know what I mean?
That's the thing, he's your favorite artist. He's influential to, and the reason for a lot of the styles that we see now from a lot of guys who can still really rap. Like they're fans of a lot of these guys, especially someone like Drake, who's old enough to have been like a real fan of Nas, and back in a time where you could still say Nas was like hot. You know what I'm saying? His music was still hot, but he's back hot again. And the new generation of artists that have come to the forefront still speak about them and talk about them. There's a lot of rappers who are like 21 years old, 22 years old, dropping, and nobody talks about them, and no one cares.
Right.
And we don't even ask. We don't even ask if those people are relevant. Okay, because we're not concerned about them at all. There's a guys that came out for the first time just a few years ago who no longer are even like some of them are having trouble even selling out small venues.
Right. Exactly. And Nas is about to, we'll see if it sells out. He's about to do the entire trilogy at MSG. You know what I'm saying? The entire trilogy at MSG. You do not book MSG unless you believe. Let me not say that, right? They can make it, they can take the arena and make it smaller so you can fit the number of fans there. But MSG isn't gonna book you unless they know you're gonna get a certain number of people, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is no way. I want to point out a couple of people in the chat. First of all, Legion and Knicks, shout out to you. He said, go watch video reactions by kids when they listen to Nas. They love Nas.
I was gonna bring that up.
Right, these young kids love him. They just not readily exposed to him. Exactly.
So that's what I was just saying. Like, the majority of them are kids. You know what I mean? And I watch a lot of them, not just for Nas, just to see how they reviewing certain records, that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
So that's a
And
fact.
Latoria B, thank you for joining in, said he does appeal to that crowd. Search KD3 reaction on YouTube. Same thing. 90s babies are doing them. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, let's put it like this. When King's Disease 2 came out, some of my former basketball players texted me, you know, and like, yo, coach, I know you probably playing the hell out of this thing. You know what I'm saying? You about to play it out in the next day. You know what I'm saying? And then asking me what my favorite tracks are and telling me what their favorite tracks are. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I literally, when Nas' album Done came out,
Yeah.
I got like 4 or 5 texts from players that I used to coach. And all of them are in their 20s. You know, they say, yo, check out this new Nas track. Coach, I know you heard this Nas track. Coach, what you think about this Nas track?
Or
You know what I'm saying?
when that was one of them.
And you know what's crazy? Like, for a guy like artists gotta understand, you better hope you as relevant as Nas is this far into your career if your career lasts that long.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like, they don't even realize this is you're supposed to be championing this in this and valuing it. It's like it should be no negative words that come out your mouth.
Because
You know
one
what I
day
mean?
one day he's gonna be 48, 49 years old. And it's gonna be some other artist 30 years old to say, nah, 21 ain't relevant. And you know what, 21, he might not even be around making music then. You never know. Might not even be able to. I think it's let me ask you this before, I'm gonna get into some other things. How much of it do you think, as fans, older fans, hip-hop fans, like we created, in some aspects, created this rivalry, right? We've talked about this before, where, we consistently kind of diss the younger music, like, nah, that's garbage, that's trash, we not listening to that, that's not real hip-hop, that's, like, y'all need to go listen to this, that, and the third, instead of like saying, okay, that's dope, but check this out. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what you think it is, and opening up the door in that manner, because I know for a little while, I think it's changing now, and Nas is helping to change that, to be honest with you.
And that's where I was gonna go, son. Like, it's one thing if you want to have that perspective as an artist, that's cool, but direct that energy to the people that was saying that. You know what I mean? The people that wasn't spreading love or even if they weren't doing records with you. You know what I mean? I'm sure Nas was the guy that was giving advice, you know what I mean? OG talk and all that. So, and then as of recently, the first 2 King's Disease always had a up and comer, a young artist featured, you know what I mean? Whether that was for his own benefit or not, you know what I mean? The records came out dope and they worked.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not like if for the people who be like, oh, he used them for that, whatever. I mean, the hottest artists in the world do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
They reach back and find out what's hot and say, yo, let me get that record that you created for my album. I'll put you on my album as a feature and get you hot and this and that. And I'm not saying Nas did that. I'm just giving an example of what, some of the biggest artists ever do.
Right. Savvy. What do you think about that? Because you're a young person, right? How old are you, Savvy?
I'm 28.
28 years old. So I'm sure you've heard from a lot of people like, oh, that's trash, that's garbage, that's not real hip hop, right? So how much do you think that plays into some younger artists being like, just kind of having a little bit of venom because they're always hearing that, this music in the 90s was better, more organic. There were more styles. Everybody didn't sound the same, which I think is true. But that's just one aspect of how music grows. You know what I mean? They hear all of this right now. They hear it. You know what I mean? So that maybe there's a little bit of venom there. And so it's like, when someone like Nas or whoever comes out and there's a lot of publicity around it, they want to be like, man, whatever. They not relevant.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. I'm sorry, real quick, but they mad because, or he's mad because people stopped talking about his album and was talking about the current album that just came out. You know what I mean? I think that's what it all boils down to. You know what I mean? Like, the talk stopped about that whole Drake 21 album. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it wasn't even as heavy. But if you look around, everybody's talking about the Nas album.
Right. Nah, I feel you. But Savvy,
everybody is talking about the Nas album.
Yeah, but
I do think that there definitely is some venom among the artists that, like, younger artists that came up in that next or generation after next, about being told that their music is a certain way for sure. I don't know if that's necessarily the case for 21 Savage as an individual, but I know that a lot of rappers from the South, have that same sort of like chip on their shoulder about rappers from New York specifically, right? And so not only is Nas like a 90s golden age rapper, or a rapper who made his debut during that golden age, rather, but he's also one that is from New York, so he represents that real old guard, that quintessential thing that people refer to as, this is what the real stuff is. So Nas is probably the example that somebody used when they said that to him or somebody else a lot of the time anyway, right? Because it was Nas, Hov, and like people from the generation prior, Rakim, and that whole ilk, right? I think that what it came down to a lot of the times was that some people were gatekeeping and feeling that way, as opposed to it just being somebody's opinion. And I think that created more of the divide. But I myself have seen a lot of young people that make music themselves and talk about guys like Nas as their inspiration.
Right.
So talk about Nas as their influence. So it really just depends who you talk to. And I feel like there's this thing about modern era rap right now where some of the best rap artists of all time, who are still some of the best rap artists out, are still making music. They're aging gracefully. And we have like the Griselda effect still going strong, where these guys, I mean, they were in the mid to late 30s when they blew up, came to the forefront of the culture, started to influence a lot of comebacks by other rappers who were not necessarily out and dropping, you know what I'm saying? And they're out and they're doing well, and there's really no sort of structure to put any one rapper to the forefront than the other, because we live in the streaming age now.
Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. How much does being relevant do with sales? Right? Mike H said Drake and Savage just did 400K and nobody is talking about it. That also is going to lead me to another question, right? And obviously the question is coming from this conversation too, because, when you say nobody is talking about it, maybe nobody in our circles is talking about it, but there's another group of fans that are talking about it, I'm pretty sure. You know what I'm saying? Although I did, search it up a little bit. And I searched it up on Twitter. Went up on Twitter to see who was talking about it.
I think the talk halted. I think people were talking about it.
Right.
I think it halted.
Yeah, and that's probably part of this whole thing. The talk kind of stopped. You know what I mean? But how much do album sales go into being relevant? All right, and I'm gonna play this clip and then we can talk about it.
Let's look at the numbers. You feel me? Like, to me, when you talk about relevant, what is your numbers doing? Because the numbers play a major part in all that music shit today. So my thing is, if Lil Baby dropped a deluxe today, do you think that would outsell Nas or out? You feel me? No, it wouldn't. That's what I think when I hear relevant. You feel me? That nigga not that relevant.
All right. So now, I think he mixed up his words a little bit, right? He was trying to say would Nas outsell Baby, but I'm gonna say this. I think King's Disease came in top 5 first week album sales, right? KD2, I think, was number 2 when it dropped. Magic didn't do as well, but there was no promotion. It just, one day they said, yo, we dropping an album, and it dropped, right? KD3 was number 1 on iTunes as of yesterday. At least yesterday it was, or you know, a couple of days, whenever it was. So how can that even be an argument? Now, how long is you know, that going to be on the charts? Who knows? But if it's coming in, that first week it's coming in top 5, how can it be an argument? How can you argue about sales? I mean, Nas has never been, even at his height, he's never been one that's going to go 10 million. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, Nas is probably more comfortable in front of the camera now than he ever was back then. Even when you look at videos, you know, and you know, even in the videos, he looks a little uncomfortable in front of the camera. You know what I'm saying? Just not smooth in front of the camera. He's probably way more, you know, just comfortable in front of the camera now, you know. But because of that, though, you know, wasn't always in the spotlight. You know, probably didn't have the best business acumen back then. He didn't sell those kind of numbers. You know what I mean? He still did well. I mean, he's probably at, for his career, 25 million albums sold or something like that. You know, he did good, but he's never been that kind of person to sell crazy albums. You know what I mean? But how much does that, but still, you know, he still's got, you know, I don't know what, 5 or 6 albums that came in number 1 on the charts. You know what I mean? The last time he came number 1 was probably Life is Good in 2012. Was probably the last time he was number 1. How much though? How much does that go into your number of album sales, go into your relevance? Yeah, Savvy, I'll start with you.
I think it goes into your quote unquote relevance if you are signed to a major label and you are heavily invested behind and you are considered like the expectation is that you will compete with the highest selling artists in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that is the whole career path that you're on, if that's the kind of artist that you are, I feel like your numbers can be a good litmus test for how poppin' you still are and how important your music is still to people. And I feel like the importance of your music to people is what really, at the end of the day, dictates relevance. Because if you don't sell that much, but everyone's talking about it, then that means that can mean a whole wide number of things. Maybe people don't listen to it except for in certain contexts, so they play it less often. But maybe it's the album that stayed with them the most of everything that they've heard in the past year.
Right.
You feel me? Like,
let me jump in there. Let me jump in there real quick, Savvy, because Illmatic is the perfect embodiment of what you're saying. When Illmatic dropped back then, Illmatic didn't go platinum until like 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. You know what I mean? I think it came out in its first year, you know, maybe it did 500,000, and then it kind of the sales dropped off a little bit, but you can't tell me it wasn't relevant.
Bro, there's that, right? There's the lasting regard for Illmatic. Then there's the fact that he's a part of one of the most infamous and talked about and referenced beefs that ever took place in hip hop. During which he created a track that has become a verb in the cultural lexicon that we use for like doing a diss track that really bodies somebody. Like we say he ethered you. Okay. Ether that's Nas right there. That ongoing lasting staying power. He dropped an album called Hip Hop Was Dead. called Hip Hop Is Dead, right? And people still to this day talk about or make reference to the fact that, oh, like a southern rapper will say, oh, like Hop didn't die until Nas said it, or like just talk about how he's the one that dropped that album. And it was a big deal when he did. Throughout his career, he's always done things, and people have always regarded what he does, when he does it, how he does it, and use that as a table for discussion, but also a way to assess the culture itself, because he's setting the standard for certain things. He's creating the discussion. What he says matters, and what he does matters, and that's why we're even talking about this.
That's why we're even talking about it. I really would like to find somebody who's listening, or, well, it would have to be someone who's listening that hasn't spoken up, hasn't put anything in the chat, who maybe disagrees.
And while we wait for that, I want to share
and I'd like to hear why.
Yes, I want to share a theory about why this is even a thing, right? I think what happened was he did the album with Drake. They were thinking that it was going to be talked about for a long time because of the whole line with the Stallion and the shooting and the controversy, and just the fact that it was some very, like, it's called her loss for a reason. Okay. All right. And I listened to the album and I enjoyed the album. I thought it was a good album. I thought it was some of Drake's best rapping in a while. And I always liked 21 Savage's music. Like, he always has several songs on his albums, believe it or not, that I really like, because, believe it or not, despite what people think about 21, he's pretty good at what he does. Like, he makes good music. He makes really enjoyable music. I drive around to a bunch of 21 Savage music, and I thought that was a good idea for him to do the album with Drake. But the weekend it came out, despite it doing great numbers streaming wise, as we see, was when Nas, if I'm not mistaken, dropped the teasers for the album. Because I saw the track list that came shortly after. I saw the album cover, the artwork, the announcement of the date, everything like that, and it kind of squashed the conversation. If we're going by social media, my timeline went from being about what Drake said about Meg to, oh boy, Nas is coming.
Right. So here we go. Uncle Fulio says Nas is a legend, no doubt. KD3 is a masterpiece, but the fact of the matter is not many people are playing Nas in their car at the stoplight. Tony, go ahead.
That just goes back to what I said about the context of where people play music. Like the music that you listen to in your headphones might not be the same as the music that you listen to riding around in the car.
I mean, that could be true.
If I'm out on a date and I'm driving and I have, some female company, I might play some different music that I like, that is my taste in music, that would be played in other contexts.
For the most part, that's the only time the music switches up. You know what I mean? Like, I do Uber, so when I got a passenger, I'm sticking with my R&B bag. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean, when it's time to rock out, you know what I mean? It's Nas, it's Griselda. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's who I like. But part of that,
exactly.
to be honest, I can't front. I know it's regional. You know what I mean? Like R&B, I can listen to from anywhere. The majority of the hip hop I listen to is New York based, East Coast based. For the most part, I not saying I don't like anybody from other places because I
Yeah,
do.
I mean,
It's the majority.
right, but to what Uncle Fulio was saying, I mean, I would say I heard at least 2 cars playing the record over the past couple of days, right? And for me, the reason why I realized it is because obviously I heard it and I'm like, oh, okay, they playing KD3. You know what I'm saying? I may not pay attention to what other people are playing, so I don't know, what else they might have been playing, but I've heard at least 2, I would say, playing it. But I still don't know if that means you're relevant, right? Relevance goes so far beyond if someone is just playing the music in their car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kavese
Day party.
said, Nas got these albums, TV/film productions, record labels, tours. How is he not relevant? He just did a commercial with LeBron James, right?
Father Time,
The Father Time commercial. You know what I mean?
fire.
How many? I don't know. I don't know that just because you don't hear people playing it in their car like you did way back in the day means that you're not relevant. It could mean that the people that listen to Nas don't play their music at high decibels in the car anymore.
And
So you don't hear it.
Nas music can be played at a you know what I mean, like at a day party. You know what I mean? At a brunch
Right.
in a there's certain restaurants that actually play music. You know what I mean? So I hear his music throughout when I'm out. So it's
Mhm.
not like, and not to mention, obviously I'm playing it myself, but you know what I mean, you go to certain venues and certain establishments, and you'll hear his music in the rotation
Yeah.
of what they are comfortable playing for everyone.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
And I watch a lot of basketball games. I hear Nas records. Just about every time I turn on a basketball game, I hear a Nas record. I
Made you
mean,
look.
earlier today, I'm not even sure about right now, but earlier today, Illmatic was trending on Twitter. KD3 just dropped and Illmatic was trending on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That's relevance to me. You know what I mean? That's relevance to me. So yeah, relevance goes way beyond sales. And I think nowadays it goes way beyond, are you playing it in your car? Because it's played in so many different aspects,
And
music.
I didn't even get to talk about the sales because I mean, as far as 21, it's easy right now for you to talk about sales when you standing next to Drake, right? Let's talk about individual solo
Word.
album sales. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
All right.
Where he's about what 3 million or yeah, I think 3 million in the United States, and hasn't hit a million outside the United States. And
Yeah.
Nas is like 15 million in the United States alone. You know what I mean? Now, granted, we talk about a longer time span, obviously. But even if you do the math and do your division, you know what I mean? Like, again, you're gonna hope you want to be in that stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And back to the core fans, like uh, like Savvy said, when you independent as opposed to on a major label, where now the major label is promoting, advertising, like all that stuff Nas does for himself. You know what I mean? And he could be a cheat code. He doesn't choose to. You know what I mean? With his business ventures, you don't see the album being extra promoted. You know what I mean? Like it's only promoted to the people that is gonna check for it anyway. You know what I mean? But even if his score is, you know, 1 million, that's a good core. That's a good core to have.
Yeah, and so here we go. And this is the driving question. This is what we're getting at. Nas is not for the young 18 to 24 demographic, which is the bulk of what is driving hip hop. Right?
I want to challenge that demographic age range.
There you go. Here, let me put that back up there.
Okay, 18 to 24 is only a 6-year difference. That is not the demographic age range of import when you're talking about music business in hip hop. It is much wider than that because the millennial generation, which happens to be my generation, the oldest millennials now are in their mid to late 30s, right? Pushing 40. And they're still avid music listeners, music purchasers, concert goers, merchandise buyers, music bloggers, music journalists, podcasters, right? People who work at labels, who work at streaming companies, you know, in their mid 30s, late 30s, okay, late 20s, making these playlists that drive the streaming that artists like 21 still you know, and navigating. I mean, that is not, and the industry is not catering. I wouldn't say the industry is even catering to that age range. I think a much better age range would be probably 16 to like 35, 38.
Right.
I think that's much more representative because you go to festivals and that's who you see.
Right.
You
But
go to
see this,
Rolling Loud, that's
yeah.
what you're gonna see.
But see, this goes to again what Josh is saying is, you know, those are the people who are buying the records, right? You know, those are the people that are making the purchases, and so it goes again into sales, right? Because people in that demographic buy the music, or however you want to say it. I mean, you know, CDs aren't like that anymore. You know what I mean? Although over the past, I guess, years, CD sales have gone up. You know what I mean? But those are the people that are doing more streaming and so on and so forth. That age bracket that Nas is, that Josh is talking about right there. But then that's you saying that that's the only thing that makes you relevant. And that's not the only thing that makes you relevant. It's way more than that makes you relevant. And you know what I mean?
Honestly, to me, touring is more important than anything. I mean that's what really shows your relevancy, because people gotta leave their house to go to you know what I mean? Like
You know,
like they gotta
so
stop what they're
peep
doing. They
this.
gotta prepare for it.
So peep this. Right? I mean, because like you said, Tony, 21 can talk right now because him and Drake dropped the album, did 400K in the first week. If it wasn't him and Drake, would it have done that? If it was just 21, would it have done those kind of numbers?
Or a better question, if it was just Drake, it would have did them same exact
If
numbers.
it was just Drake.
Point blank.
Right. If it was just Drake, it would have did those kind of numbers. Right? But if it was 21, it wouldn't have did those kind of numbers. I mean, you can go look at the numbers that he's done on his own, and I'm not saying did bad numbers. You know, I'm not saying that at all. But he wouldn't have did that. He wouldn't have did 400K in the first week by himself. In my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Now let me ask.
I don't think so.
And let's talk about let's talk about this. Okay, him and Drake did a joint together, right? What if Nas and Hov did an album together? How much fanfare and media publicity would be for that album?
Grammy.
Regardless of if you like it or not, just the fact that those two artists were doing an album together would be the most highly anticipated album that year.
Right, ever.
You know what I'm saying? That year.
Bro, it would be spoken about as soon as they announced the date. It would be spoken about every like several times a month, every month from the date of announcement to the date of release. They could announce it a year out. At the top of next year, will be like most anticipated albums of this year,
Right.
and that will make the list every single time.
Right. Josh is really wilding now. He said Hove is not even relevant now. I don't know how long ago. He just did that God did verse, and everybody was like, "Yo, did you hear Hove's verse?" Blase. Come on. Say that again, Tony.
Dude.
No, I said broke the internet. Like off a verse. Like that was like Nas album done. You know what I mean? Like that was the same response. With Nas
I'm trying to explain to Folio why I'm saying he's underestimating the market in the mid-20s to early to mid to even late 30s. Okay, the millennial generation has always been seen as a more childish, youthful, arrested development type of generation, and there's several reasons for that. But we are adults and making adult money, living our lives, having children, and still consuming the things that we consumed when we were younger. People in our age group will still watch the same cartoons and play video games and whatnot. There's a lot of marketing efforts targeting people in that age group.
Right.
And that's not different from music. People in this age group still have purchasing power that a lot of these labels, streaming services, musicians, independent outfits, whatever, seek to do business in. Like there's marketing catered to a lot of age groups.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. King Imbert said Nas and Jay or Kendrick and Cole would do crazy numbers. Yeah, I agree with that. I want to ask you, I want to listen to this, right? The dude, one of the dudes talking said, that he asked his 16-year-old nephew or whatever, who's the best artist, who's the GOATs, and this is what he said.
Music is heard differently by different generations. I just put in the chat, I asked my 16-year-old nephew who was the GOATs, and he said Shaq West and NBA Youngboy. And that's who people his age group are listening to. So what we gonna tell them that they wrong? You know what I'm saying? We all hear music differently by generation, bro. And the music that resonates with you, you gonna go out and support. I don't give a damn what age you are.
All right, so relevance, how much is it really just have to do with who you listen to? You got certain groups of people that's going to listen to one type of music, other groups going to listen to another type of music, because to those kids, that's who's relevant to them, right? So how much is relevancy personal? You know what I mean? 21 might drop a record. If I hear something that I like, I might listen to that, but for the most part, it's not going to be relevant to me. And I'm not going to be clamoring to go stream his record.
Yeah, but you could also recognize the fact that you go out and you hear it. You know what I mean? Or you know people are talking. So I think the relevancy, like it like somebody in the chat, I don't know where he's referring to exactly, but he said that's dismissive, and that's how I feel about what 21 is saying. He's dismissing the fact, or you can't dismiss the fact that because you don't listen to it, that doesn't mean it's not relevant.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like there's more, you know what I mean? There's a billion people out there.
So there's personal relevance and then there's overall relevance, right? Something may not be relevant to me, but it could be relevant to a lot of people, which makes it relevant. Right? Nah, I agree with that 100%. 100%. And then here we go, somebody who's kind of relevant, but not really relevant, that's going to join us. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude is halfway relevant. Big Bubba.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, my man? How you feeling?
What's going on,
fellas?
good. We good. Do me a favor, if you adjust your mic a little bit so your head's not coming out the screen. I know that's a big adjustment for you because your head is we get it. You know what I mean? But what's
Hey,
going on,
man.
man? Glad you could join us.
Yeah, man, I'm excited, man. Really wanted to talk about this, with the whole 21 Savage. And it's crazy. I'm a big 21 Savage fan, man, but I think he's really incorrect about this. I think when it comes to Nas, man, I think Nas is generational. We already know I'm not even gonna say he's a hip hop legend. He's a musical legend. And I know, like a lot of kids my generation listen to Nas. I know, especially listening to King Disease 1 and 2. I think we're extremely popular around people of our generation. And, I just don't believe what 21 Savage said is accurate.
Yeah. And he wasn't trying to diss him. I will say that because he did say, listen, he got a loyal fan base and he makes good music. You know what I mean? So I don't think he was trying to diss Nas. And he did say, maybe I said the wrong thing. And Tony, you're probably right. Maybe he just like, you know what? Let's get the conversation off of King's Disease and back on what I'm trying to do.
And the messed up part about the whole thing is, like, he's been getting clowned for the most part for the album, his lack of presence and saying, everybody champion. This is the Drake I like. This is the Drake I've been waiting for. You know what I mean? So or this is a Drake album featuring 21, and like, so now you're gonna come out and say something like this. You know what I mean? I don't get it, man. Maybe he wanted to be on King's Disease 3, and now it's like, nah, I ain't doing no feature with the song.
Right.
And he ain't believe him, and then he said, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to just, he was mad he was losing that talking point of their album.
Yeah. And see, this is the reason why Big Bubba is not relevant, because he comes on and then all of a sudden his screen goes black, you know what I'm saying? And then we get a little bit of an echo. I don't know what he's doing.
No, Sam, I was trying to get the headphones, my Beats to connect. That's really what it was.
Well, Savvy,
Hey, you know what's
see the
funny?
thing is, I always tell him, use a wired connection because, and still, here we go. That's why I say.
Wait, is it echoing right now?
No, it's better. It was. Whatever you did was it was echoing for a second. I had
Well, you told me a technique. I ain't gonna tell everybody because that's $1 million. Yeah, man. But you know what, Sam? I mean, usually with 21, and this is what I respect about him, because I watch interviews with him. He usually doesn't, how can I say? I don't want to. I guess I'd call it sneak dissing or dissing dudes. He usually be like, hey, whatever they got going on, that's what they got going on. I know what I got going on in my camp, and I focus on myself. He usually does that, because I just watched the interview with him and DJ Academics, where they were talking about one of the big things circling around now with 21 Savage is, like, he's saying that he can beat everybody in his freshman class. That was a whole big debate. And then there was another big thing that's kind of circling around right now about how much money he has, which, again, I think that's kind of weird to talk about. But, he had an interview with DJ Academics, and they were talking about how, he kind of got offended when Academics is like, little baby makes more money than you. And then, he tried to break it down. But then he was like, also, like, this isn't about little baby. He wanted to make that very clear that he wasn't, like, pocket watching, what little baby was doing, but he was just explaining to Academics about the money the money he makes, and him explaining that how he's independent. He's truly independent, like how he has to deal with a record label where he kind of broke it down. It's like he gets 80% and they get 20%.
Right.
And so it is. That's why I was kind of like, why is he bringing up Nas?
Well, and this is Leah. Thank you for joining in. She said, "Does anyone know why Nas came up?" I think on the Clubhouse on the app they were having a discussion about King's Disease 3, right?
And 21 decided to show up because Nas isn't relevant.
Right. You know what I'm saying? He decided to show up. I don't know exactly how he decided to, how he got in there, but he decided to join in. And then the conversation started with a little bit more about dissecting music, which I want to get into that conversation. Dissecting music, and then it got into talking about rappers who have longevity. You know, he was kind of dismissing the whole thing about longevity. You're gonna hear that in a second too. You know what I mean? And saying, we got to stop with this whole thing about longevity because everybody from back then is not, wasn't nice and da 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 da. You know what I mean? And then he came out and he said, because Nas ain't relevant. He said he's not relevant. And then that's when it went down. Uncle Fulio, the controversy. What's going on, man?
Salute, Sam. What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing? Good evening. Can I get my 2 cents on this whole thing? I'm not going to be on too long. I just want to kind of
get your 2 cents in. Get your 2 cents in.
You said that a lot.
Then he gonna run.
Yeah. He's gonna say his 2 cents, and then he's gonna turn his camera and mic off and go on. Nah, go ahead.
Tony, I heard that the last show, and he was on the whole show.
Right,
he was on the whole show.
So I just want to say, I think first and foremost, Nas is a legend, and this King's Disease 3 phenomenal album. I thought it was great from top to bottom, no question about that. But I think there's a difference in when Sim, you saying relevant, and 21 Savage, his interpretation of relevant, right? I think there's a big difference between that. Everyone knows, like, Nas is a legend. You can't take that away from him. Illmatic's probably the greatest hip hop album of all time. You know what I'm saying? And this King's Disease, the entire trilogy was great. But to be honest, between 24 and under, not 18 and 24, I want to say 24 to under, that's what's driving hip hop. That's what's always has been driving hip hop. And to me, when it comes to that demographic, it hasn't, Tony?
I don't think that's what's driving hip hop. That's driving sales. That's driving sales. No. Sales and hip hop are two different things. I think that's driving music sales.
The older hip hop gets, the larger the dynamic gets. The larger you can't. It's not just a young man's game.
I never said it was. I never said it was. But the 24 to under demographic to me is what's always been driving hip hop. That's what hip hop is about. Young kids making music. Basically, that's how hip hop started, right?
So
the youth, the young
team. Tell me who's thriving in hip hop right now. That's in that age range. The
artist does not have to be in that age range. The artist has to cater to that demographic, not the artist itself. That's what I'm saying. 24-year-olds, 24 and under, unless you're hold on, Isaiah. If you're 24 and under, unless you're a true hip hop head that knows Nas, that knows Hov, that knows Jada, like you're not going to a place and they have on a Nas record. You know what I'm saying? That's not happening unless you're a true hip hop head, right? You go into these clubs, these younger clubs and these younger bars in New York or anywhere, in California, anywhere, no one's playing Nas. And it's no disrespect to Nas. I just think that Nas his music has grown over time and he has kind of elevated himself to now on a different level. He caters to a different demographic. Like everyone here, with the exception of, I want to say Bubba and Savvy, is 35 and older, right? He caters to that demographic. Everyone dissing me in the chat, but based on what I said, it's 35 and older. Nas, you can relate to that music more than you can relate to, say, a Post Malone, who I think 21 Savage, Migos, who kind of cater to that 24 and under demographic. No disrespect to Nas, but I think that's really what 21 Savage was talking about.
But does that mean, so you're talking about popularity?
Relevance. That's what we're talking about. Relevance.
But what you're talking about is popularity. I don't think popularity and relevance have to go are the same thing. You're talking about popularity. You don't go into the club and hear Nas, right? You don't go into that and hear Nas. That's popularity to me. Relevance doesn't have to be that you're popular, in my opinion. When I was young, Rakim wasn't necessarily popular, but he was relevant in hip hop. He was relevant to everyone that was around me, but he wasn't popular anymore. He wasn't the popular artist. Just like that guy said, when he asked his 16-year-old, who is the GOATs? He said NBA Youngboy, right? And I'm not trying to disrespect NBA Youngboy or that kid, but that's his demographic. It doesn't mean other people aren't relevant.
Or
I think
because I
again,
hold on.
I
Can I
think
say
the
this real quick?
differences in definitions of relevant is subjective to your definition of relevance to what 21 Savage was talking about. I kind of understand what 21 Savage is talking about because I understand the demographic that he is talking about, that he really puts his music out towards, or they kind of market him towards, is that 24 and under demographic. Like 20-year-olds are not playing 21 Savage.
But that's cool.
Hold on, can I say something real quick?
Hold up. But this is what I'm saying. Right?
I don't think many 16-year-olds are either.
But see, this is relevant to this. This is relevance. This is what I think relevance is. Okay. They say, they were saying in there, people under 30 aren't waking up streaming Nas album or downloading Nas album, right? But when me, someone who's 46 years old, gets text from people that I coached who are in their 20s saying, "Coach, did you hear the Nas album?" Right? Or how you like this song? Or what's your favorite song on that album? To me, that's relevance. They may not be waking up and Nas might not be their favorite artist, right? But they understand that it exists, right? They understand there's something that's out there. Maybe they take a quick listen, then they move on. My daughter, right? And I'm not like pounding that you gotta listen to this, you gotta listen to that. Like that, I got this song and that song and that song on my playlist because I think it's dope.
You don't think it's because maybe they know you're a huge Nas fan, and you probably came out that, nah, check out this Nas album. You don't know nothing about this Nas album. You probably said that before. You don't think it's because they acknowledge that you're one of the biggest Nas fans out there?
Yes, they acknowledge it, which makes it relevant.
That has nothing to do with relevance, though.
It does have to do with relevance.
Because you made it relevant.
It has to do with relevance because out of the blue, I've had people say, "Hey, Coach, you need to check out this Nas song right here because it's dope." Because they heard it and they think it's dope. I've had these guys say, "Hey, Coach, I listened to Nas Rewind and that changed my whole perspective on how I listen to music."
I think it's because you are a Nas fan and they know you're a Nas fan.
So a player telling me, so one of these kids telling me that Nas Rewind changed his whole perspective on him listening to music is because he knows I'm a fan? No, it's because he listened to the song.
You probably been putting them on saying that, nah, you need to check out this old Nas. Y'all don't know anything about the Nas, right? So you need to check out this Nas, and then them actually listening to it after you put them on to it. It was like, okay.
Wait, I want to say something. This I think is really important. Josh, who's the hottest hip hop group in hip hop right now?
The hottest hip hop group, you can say Migos. That's where I would start, honestly.
That's what you think it is?
I would say so.
I would disagree. I would say Griselda is the hottest hip hop group right now.
I mean, I like Griselda more than Migos personally, but as far as
the reason why I'm saying that is because I know kids that are like 17, 18 to people that are in their 40s that listen to Griselda. Like, and mind you, don't forget, these ain't they West Side Gun, Benny the Butcher, Conway the Machine, they're not in their 20s. They are literally all 37 and up. You know what I'm saying?
And they're not targeting 14 or 16-year-olds.
No, they're targeting 90s hip hop art, like 90s hip hop fans with their music. And you also have Freddie Gibbs, who's hugely popular. Freddie Gibbs, and you got Freddie Gibbs on some of the Young Boys tracks. You got West Side Gun on a lot of tracks. You got Conway the Machine on a lot of these young kids' features. So I would say that, and mind you, again, they're not targeting kids that are 16 to 24, but you got 16 to 24 listening to Griselda. Like, I know a lot of kids my age. Well, I listen to Griselda. We've had, even though I don't.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever been to the West Coast before?
No, I've never had a chance.
All right, so I've been to the West Coast, and I'm telling you right now, you're more likely to hear Migos than you are to hear Griselda. And I've heard Griselda on the West Coast, don't get me wrong, but you're more likely to hear Migos in all parts of the country, because they cater to that age range. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You go to any club, young club, 25 and under club, like you're more likely to hear Migos than you're going to hear Griselda.
But I think Griselda,
you're more likely to hear Migos than Griselda in the New York club, to be honest.
Griselda don't make club music.
It's not, so that's what I'm trying to say. Same thing with Nas. Nas has never really been the the club guy, the club record guy. If a record breaks into there, that's one thing. I don't think that was ever his intention. But the fact that you can still go out and hear Nas music, I think that's where you're missing the fact that he's relevant. You can go to a day party. You can go to certain restaurants or certain establishments that actually play music. They're not gonna play some of the music that's on Hot 97 all day long, or that's on a major playlist or radio playlist. You know what I mean? Radio rotation. They're gonna play playlist music, and that's
what's the
what
demographic at a day party, Tony?
But Tony, wait, hold on. I just want to time in real quick because I'll say this too about Nas, right? If you're, let's say, I experienced this before. If you go to, let's say, like a black-owned restaurant that that serves food, like we all know black-owned restaurants, you're most likely to hear Nas. You're gonna hear Nas.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's like a fact. You're gonna hear Nas play on a black-owned restaurant.
Actually, I want to say that that's probably more so a regional thing for y'all. However, down here, I can tell you, go to any strip club, you're gonna hear Uchiwali at some point.
Man, but y'all think Trick Daddy to go.
He said Uchiwali though. I mean, Uchiwali is a Nas track, Big Bubba. What you talking about? But
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And you're probably gonna hear You Owe Me with Genuine at some point. Like,
oh, you definitely gonna hear that one.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
My trying to get out.
Yeah, but I still just don't think that popularity and relevance. I mean, I think popularity has to do with relevance, but I don't think that's the only thing that defines being relevant. Is if you're popular at that point in time.
I didn't say anything about popularity. You keep,
but that's what you keep bringing up when you say.
No, I'm bringing up a certain demographic.
I know,
a certain demographic that has nothing to do with popularity.
Yeah, but you keep saying not played in the club. That has to do with being popular. Popular songs are played in the club. Popular songs are played on the radio. Popular songs is that's what you're saying. If it's not played in the club, it's not popular. If it's not played on the radio, it's not popular. But I don't think that's the only thing that has to do with relevance.
And nobody
way more than that
listens to the radio anyway.
You're more likely to hear Nas in a movie that you're watching, or in a commercial.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, and Sim, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I guess I'll just say you win that, right? You can win that. But as far as what 21 Savage was talking about, that's kind of how I took it. Because again, the 24 and under demographic is what has always been driving hip hop. Go back to the early stages when you had the DJs and the crews and all that. We're talking about a younger demographic. It was, hold on, Tony. It was never an older demographic that was driving it. In the 80s, when you had Run DMC, the Adidas, and all that, that was a 24 and under demographic. To this day, it's the same thing. And I think Nas now is not catering to that. That's what I'm saying.
Right, Josh, when it started, it was all young people. As it grows, as time goes by, the range is gonna grow. It's not just young people.
I'm talking about the people that are driving it, Tony. Not everybody. I'm talking about the demographic.
But George, I think what you're missing
wrong. Because it just takes time for the older people to get older, for them to still be driving the music.
But as people get older, there's going to be younger people that come in and replace them. That's why the music changes.
But that's why the demographic gets bigger.
And that's what I'm telling you.
I was gonna say, but hold on, George. But George, I want to say this because I will agree.
Hold on, one at a time. One at a time. Like the dude was saying, you guys didn't get the. But if you listen to the entire video that I played, the dude keeps saying, "Yo, one mic." At one point, he got real. He was like, "Yo, one mic, B." He was hot, right? But you know, yeah, one mic, one at a time, one mic.
Now I was gonna say that this is where I agree with Tony, is that we have to also remember, man, hip hop just turned 50. Like how many years ago? It turned 50. What? When hip hop, like what? 1978. 76.
Yeah, but go ahead. We get it. Go ahead.
Like, yeah, hip hop.
1972.
Yeah, hip hop's young, man. Think about it. Like when hip hop was born, Tupac and Biggie were one, or not even one. You know what I mean? Those guys, Nas and all these guys were, Jay-Z was like 5 or 2 or 3. All these dudes that we love now, these dudes were young, man. Like these dudes were 1 or 2 or 3, and it's growing. Like Tony said, right? You're gonna have dudes now, like no disrespect, but you got dudes like Sim and Tony that grew up hip hop, and they can go to a hip hop night and it be all people like they age at a hip hop.
You trying to be real careful. You trying to be real careful with what you're saying. You know.
I am, because I love y'all, but no, for real, man. But seriously, Savvy, me and you the same age, so stop. But no, man. But you have seen Tony and dudes like my brother that can go to a hip hop show and talk about where they was in 1985 and like being young kids listening. Yeah, Sim. See, here you go, Sim. All right, my bad.
I was 9 years old. I was 9 years old in '85, man. Come on.
All right.
Now you sound like my daughter.
All right, my bad. Look, I'll make it better for you, Sam. 1993, when I was just born.
Okay.
When I was just born.
Okay.
But for real though, you guys can go there and share the experience of how you felt back in the 90s and the early 2000s of hip hop. And that's your age group. And then we could go, me, Josh, and Savvy can go, and we can listen to Drake. We can listen to the Migos. We can listen to the Mitch. You can't. Yes, I know. But we can. Us three can go listen to what the mid 2000s with 50 Cent and all these guys and what you call it, and that's gonna be the same thing. So that's 3 generations of how kids can now go. Now the kids can go listen to Drake, Migos, all these other kids, all the other littles now that are out. So you know what I'm saying? It just goes like that. That's why I say, Josh, that the way hip hop is now, we there now. We with the rock and rolls. We with I won't say we with jazz.
This conversation is somewhere totally where we're not even getting that. Obviously, hip hop is 50. It's about to be 50. It's actually 73, not 72. Thank you, JJ. We know that the demographic is larger, like overall for hip hop. But I'm saying the 24 and under demographic is the one that's really driving hip hop. Those are all the.
But that's not true no more, though.
That is okay. Look on the billboards right now. Which rap artist is on the billboards right now? Post Malone. His demographic is 24 and under.
Josh, do you really want to use Post Malone as a great example for hip hop? Come on, Josh.
No, I'm not using him as
Josh,
a great
don't
example
do that
for hip hop. You're not listening. You're not listening. What I'm saying is,
but you just use Post Malone as an example.
Hold on, let him finish.
I think Sim understands what I'm saying. He may not agree, but I'm saying that 24 and under is what the hot music is right now. Like if it caters to that demographic specifically, that's more likely to blow up and be the driving force in hip hop in this age. Just like in the 80s with Run DMC, they catered to a 24 and under demographic. Back in the 70s, Sugar Hill Gang, in 79, they catered to a 24 and under demographic. In the 90s, when you talk about Jay, Nas, in the hood, it was a 24 and under demographic. Now, Drake, Post Malone, 21 Savage, Migos, 24 and under demographic. I'm not saying if you're older than that you don't, there's no music out there for you. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just talking about that younger demographic is what is driving hip hop music today for the most part. I think that's what 21 Savage was talking about I think that's what he was talking about.
I just don't think that's what's driving hip hop. I think that's part of maybe that's the larger fan base. And I don't even know if it's the larger fan base. You know, because I mean the fan base is wide. There's a lot of aspects that go into it. That age group is the group that spends their money to buy the hip hop or has more time to stream the music. You know what I'm saying? Where when they get a little bit older and they own a house and cars and have kids, they won't have that time or that excess money to buy the music or stream the music because they've got other responsibilities out there.
So you agree with me that the younger you are, the more likely you are to drive the music.
But I don't think that's driving the music because there's a bigger demographic. So there's music out there that's catered towards the different demographics, right? So I don't think that's driving hip hop. I think all of it is driving hip hop.
What's the biggest part?
Are you talking about who's buying it?
I mean,
yes.
I mean,
well, I mean, if we really want to get down to it, it's women buying more music than men anyway.
And check this out,
That's
right?
a
Check
fact.
this out.
you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Speaking of women and hip hop trends, right? You see an evidence of that expansion of the age range demographic as being catered to when you look at Saweetie, who when she put her album out, it was led by a single that was sampling Petey Pablo, a song that had come out like in the prior decade of when that track came out. Okay. And
there you go.
we see a lot of people sampling 3-6 Mafia now. 3-6 Mafia that came out way back when, and now the sound is coming back into vogue. A lot of the retro sounds are coming back into vogue, and people who are just focused on making good hip hop music are gonna be popular across the board anyway.
Yeah. You know, I just think, you know, what you're saying plays into popularity, and I don't think popularity defines relevance. J. Mar said, imagine
I'm glad
a
you
hip hop
started this one,
fan,
Tim.
a hip hop fan from the 90s saying MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice is driving hip hop because of the charge. This is what this dude is literally saying. I'm done.
Okay, J. Mar, I'm sure you were alive in the 90s, but MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice, do you know what demographics they cater to for the most part? Wasn't anybody over 25 at the time. So,
but they did not drive hip hop. They were popular, but they did not drive hip hop.
I'm talking about
25 back then.
And I will challenge that. Especially MC Hammer. He was not targeting children. He was not targeting people under 21 years old or under 24 years old. Now, his music reached all demographics, from grandmas to, you know what I mean, grandbabies.
You saying grandma's doing hammer time in the living room, Tony?
I'm curious about that, actually, Tony. I want to know.
Right.
I want to know. I want to know who he was
ask your aunties and your uncles and your grandmas what was going on when Hammer was at his peak.
I don't want to disrespect Nas. I don't, because everyone knows Nas is a legend, like 100%. I'm from New York. I'm a huge Nas fan, always have been. I'm more of a Jay-Z fan, but I do like Nas too, right? But I don't think Hov is relevant. I don't even think Hov is relevant, and for the simple fact you're talking 24 to and younger. I just don't. He may be more relevant than Nas, but I don't think on the grand scheme of things, the grand scheme of things, he's not more relevant than like Post Malone, 21 Savage. All these guys that are making music for that demographic.
Let's go like this. Hold on. Hold on. Nah, I mean, Hov hasn't dropped the album for years.
2017.
If he came out tomorrow and said, I got an album coming out next week, everybody be like, it'd be the most highly anticipated album ready to drop next week. Guaranteed. There'll be artists pushing their albums back.
That's a fact.
Come on.
Yep.
That's why he's one of the greatest. Ain't that right, Sam?
He is. Man, I never said he wasn't. He is. I don't think he's better than Nas, but he is one of the greatest. You know what I mean?
I knew you were going to
People trying to take a shot.
No,
you know?
but seriously, listen. So when it comes to Josh, this is where you're wrong, right? Hold on, and remember this, Josh. I don't know if you see the internet. When Hov dropped his bars on that DJ Khaled album,
Hov did.
I promise you, everybody in my age group, even below, was talking about that verse.
You're 29.
I did, Josh. Did you hear me though? Everybody under my age group was talking about that verse. He was trending. He was. I know we all. I know. I'm about to be 30 next year, man. I'm scared. No, but he was trending on Twitter because of that verse.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? Come on, Joe. That was a bad one because, since he hasn't released a solo project since 2017.
Well, maybe Jay-Z is the exception to the rule. Ain't that right, Sam?
I mean, Nas is obviously the exception to the rule too.
I don't think so.
My man Kevin said he might do it too, talking about Hov. He said to try to take shine away from Nas. You already know.
He
You already know.
actually said, I know you probably talked about it when you did your album thing, but I love that little shot Nas took. I love the little shot that Nas took at Jay-Z.
Over.
Once again, this is not about the artists being over a certain age. I'm talking about the audience that they cater to, not the artists themselves. Drake is 30-something years old. There's teenagers that listen to Drake
is almost
right now.
Drake is almost 40 now. Drake is going to be close to 40.
It's not about the artists themselves, their age.
You know who his target audience is? Women.
Josh,
Yeah.
Josh, I have a question for you. Who do you think he was targeting with Spicy?
Who you talking about?
That's
Nas.
That's
Jay-Z.
Who do you think he was? No.
The audience.
No, I mean,
the audience.
Like
that's what I'm saying.
Spicy with Fergie, Fabio.
But that's what I'm saying. As you get older, like your target audience is going to change, right? That happens for some artists. And Nas, he's been in the game for so long. Like he's 50, pushing 50 right now. Like his music is going to change. It's not going to go with the times as it once did. Drake is an exception to the rule. His music will always be that, but eventually that's going to run out for him, right? Like artists like that. But like nowadays, why do you think every 5 years or 10 years, there's always a new round of artists that come out that cater to that demographic? Why do you think that is? And it's no disrespect to the people who did it. Like, no one's playing Grandmaster Flash in the Furious 5. You know what I'm saying? No one's doing that.
I'm not trying to throw shots at anybody when I say this, right? But there's people who specialize in targeting that demographic who currently are giving promotional deals in order to sell tickets to venues that are not as large as the one that Nas just toured this year.
Yeah, and Nas,
okay.
and Nas is
if
about
you
to
can't
do,
pack out your own,
yeah.
If you can't pack out the spots that you're going to perform at,
buy one get one free.
Nas is about to shut down the Garden.
Yeah, he sold it out, right? I heard.
Well, I don't think it goes on sale till tomorrow.
Jay Boogie called me and said he sold it out. So.
Nah. I don't think it goes on sale tomorrow for those who are Chase, who have a Chase card, and then I think on the 17th it goes on sale for everybody else.
But you can almost guarantee. But you can almost guarantee he's going to sell out the Garden. It's almost a guarantee.
We'll see. One last thing I want to get to. 21 Savage was talking about dissecting music, saying that we've got to stop dissecting music. And this is actually the beginning of the conversation and where, it started to get into whether or not, Nas is relevant and so on and so forth. Take a listen and tell me what you think.
We got to stop trying to treat music like it has to be dissected and, it needs to go this way. To do this, they need to do that. Because at the end of the day, when we get older, even at our age now, when we go listen to old shit, we don't listen to it because they did this or they statistically sold this or they dropped every week or they didn't drop every week. We listen to it because we like it and it put us in a good mood, bro. Like that's all it's for, bro.
But you know why we do this dissect it though? Because from the jump, because from the start of it though, it was like a science. Know what I'm saying? The way hip hop all came together. Know what I'm saying? It came together like on some like, know what I'm saying? We did some shit that abnormal. Know what I'm saying? So the way we created this shit, it was always dissected within the way of that shit right there hot, that shit not.
All right. I'm not exactly sure what 21 was trying to say there. You know what I mean? About dissecting music. All I can say is music means something to people, right? And it's always going to be dissected because you're going to try to figure out, why does it mean something to somebody else? What did the person say in that song that made so many people gravitate towards it? Or when you hear someone say, yo, your music got me through some real tough times. Why? You know what I mean? So you're going to dissect music. And hip hop was kind of built on that aspect for real. Are your lyrics dope? How did the producer flip that sample? You know what I'm saying? What did you say in your music? You know what I mean? What did you say about this artist, or what did you say about that artist, or how did your music impact society? You know what I'm saying? How did what you said? NWA said, "Fuck the police," right? We see how that impacted society back then. You know what I'm saying? Like your music is supposed. I don't want to say it's supposed to be dissected.
Yachty did.
You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be dissected. You know what I mean? Because it has meaning behind it. You did? Go ahead, Tony.
Exactly.
I mean, I think he was just scatterbrained, like from the time, like every clip that he said don't make no sense. Like so we shouldn't be championing these artists who end up getting classes in universities,
college courses. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We shouldn't be championing them. What do you think is done in these classes? Dissecting of the music. Like the only time that I feel like we shouldn't be dissecting the music is if we trying to solve a crime. You know what I mean? Like as long as you ain't trying to indict nobody, even though I firmly believe you shouldn't be putting true live crimes in music, but you know what I mean? As long as you're not trying to indict somebody, or I don't think the police should be able to use your lyrics against you. But other than that, it's fair game. If you don't want to dissect it, you don't dissect it. If you don't want to hear somebody breaking the lyrics down, you don't listen to it. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to do it. It really makes no sense. I wonder is like, are you mad because people do this? Like, how many people dissect your music and be like, oh, he was saying here and what he meant here, and you know what I mean? Like, because you don't have to listen to it if you don't you don't like it.
Right. And Gerald Gizmo, thank you for joining in. He said, y'all see this reaction? Y'all see all of these reaction videos? That's dissection. Yeah, and people dissecting your music helps to drive sales. You should want people to dissect your music.
He's salty.
I agree. I agree with Tony, and I agree with both of y'all. But unfortunately, the reality is nowadays, 90% of the time, or 80% of the time, or a strong number, that's not what the music is anymore. There's less quality in music. It's not the same as it was. There's still some good quality stuff out there, but just unfortunately, with that younger demographic, because they want to drive and put as much music out as possible, it's more about the quantity instead of the quality of it. This is what the type of answer you're going to get. It's unfortunate. It pains me to say that that's how it is nowadays, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it, man.
Lupe, I would say this.
Hold on. He said, J. Mar said, Lupe has a class at Harvard. Nas and Pac albums are being studied at prestigious universities, especially hip hop, man. Like, I mean, the impact that hip hop has, just, from how it started to the impact that it has on society, to, what is being said and within the lyrics that, talk about the black plight, at least not always, but, from specific artists that talk about the black plight in America, I think, it's going to and should be dissected.
Check out the Dissect podcast on Spotify. One of my favorite things. They got the Kendrick, the Tyler the Creator, Kanye's albums. I think that's one of the greatest things ever invented, in my opinion. Yeah. Disclaimer.
Go ahead.
We don't do those kind of plugs unless it's part of the MBK family. It's like, Josh. No, I'm joking.
Go ahead, man.
No, so I agree with Tony. I agree with Tony and I disagree with Tony. This is where I agree with Tony. I agree with Tony where 21 Savage, dude has scatterbrain. I don't understand what he meant by that. It kind of sounds like he's saying that, hey, my songs don't have any meanings. Just dance to the beat and don't take it nothing serious. And honestly, saying this isn't the first. And I'm a 21 Savage fan. I think he can actually rap personally. Yeah, I think he makes good albums. But I've heard him say before that he and this is where he's actually being asked backwards, because he said before in the interview that he doesn't want people to take his lyrics seriously when it comes to him talking about killing people and doing all these things. He didn't want people to take that seriously. He wanted that to separate from the art, which he just asked somebody.
He don't want to get indicted.
Yeah, that's true. But this is where I disagree with Tony. For hip hop artists, stop snitching on yourselves. I mean, I'm to be truthfully, honestly with you, I don't feel bad for artists that blatantly say they're committing crimes on lyrics, and from the producer to his manager to the record label clearing the song, even though it's clearly saying he's murdering somebody on the song. I can't feel bad. This is me. And Tony, you can disagree, and I would love that
I said
discussion.
the same thing. I was wondering how you disagree.
No, you said no. We're not doing that.
He
No,
did not say that.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Never
you said he
mind.
did.
I fully agree with him with Tony. But listen, it's not gangster to snitch on yourselves, young kids in hip hop. I would leave you with that. Stop snitching on yourselves and committing actual crimes and then putting them on wax and sending them out on the internet for everybody to listen to.
So should music be dissected or not?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think, and again, right? I mean, like what's name said, you have Tupac, you have Nas, you have all these young men in hip hop that are getting discussed in college courses and musical courses, and Kendrick now. So for 21 Savage to say that, I think he had a bad night on whatever that's app called, Clubhouse. I think he had a bad night, and I'm just gonna chalk it up to him because, like I said, I listen to 21 Savage interviews. He's usually a smart dude, and he explains himself very well. But everybody has a bad interview. It's okay.
It wasn't even an interview. He just interjected himself into the conversation. It wasn't an interview. It was just a Clubhouse chat, and he jumped in there to say whatever he was going to say, and discuss some things. But I don't know, man. I mean, I kind of agree with Tony. I think he's a little bit salty that the focus shifted to King's Disease. You know what I'm saying? 3. In a couple of days, the focus, or next week, the focus is going to shift someplace else. You know what I mean? And then he's getting, the backlash that he's getting or whatever. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think some of it is that. I think some of it is also, sorry, Tone. I think some of it is also, like we were discussing earlier about, some of the some older artists, and Nas is actually very relevant in changing this. You know what I mean? Because of the King's Disease trilogy. As a matter of fact, when he's at the Garden, he's doing only the King's Disease trilogy. That's it. He's not going back and doing anything else. He's doing only the King's Disease trilogy, which is going to be dope. But older artists used to kind of.
You're not doing Magic?
No, I don't think so. It's the trilogy, the King's Disease trilogy. But older artists who, that music is garbage, that music is trash, it's not real hip hop, this and that, and this and that. Some of it with him saying that, I think probably comes from that too. It's kind of like, I feel a little bit something in my heart about that. You know what I mean? So whenever, somebody like a Nas, or if he probably won't say it again, because I'm sure he's going to get some backlash from some people. You know what I mean? And people are going to come at him like, yo, like, how you going to do that? You know what I mean? Like Tony said, Drake probably like, yo, what you doing? You know what I mean? So he probably won't say it again, but, that's probably where it comes from too, I think. I mean,
you don't agree with that, do you, Sam?
Do I agree with what?
What Nas said about young artists, the trash, like some of the newer stuff being trash.
Do I agree that some of the newer stuff is trash?
Yeah.
I agree that some of the newer stuff is trash. I agree that there was stuff way back in the day that was trash that I was like, this is garbage. I don't listen to it. You know what I mean?
Nas,
yeah.
You said Nas said that?
But Nas has been championing younger artists all the time. Yeah.
But he did have that quote.
Huh?
He did have the quote where he said like a lot of the younger music is trash.
Did he have that?
Are you talking
quote
about
per se?
the hip hop is dead? You talking about then?
No, it came out after hip hop. Well, that was one, but then I think he had. I think on the first Drink Champs interview that he did, he said a lot of the younger music is trash.
It is trash.
Paraphrasing.
But
I'd
Josh,
have
to
to
be
listen
fair,
to it to hear exactly what he said. You know what I mean?
I'll send you the link.
And I don't know if he said younger or if he just said a lot of the music. But you know what I mean? Because there's a difference in that.
But to be fair, and I remember Sim, you played the clip before. I don't know if you just played for me and you or you played for the Front Stoop. But Nas, 20 years ago was like, yo, what he said, Cam, step your game up. Step your game up.
Yeah. He
Like,
I mean,
mind you,
addresses
those are his peers. Like, those are his later peers in the 2000s when he said this. When he's talking about Cam and all the dudes stepping up, like, do better. So it's not like he was just saying that. He's just saying that now. He's been saying that back in the early 2000s with dudes. You know what I mean? Step your lyrics up. So that's not new for Cam. I mean, for Nas to say that kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
He was about to say Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to the dissecting part. Some of the best music of my lifetime, I had to dissect. You know what I mean? Like some of the best artists know how to put things in the record that shouldn't be put for public consumption. But I'm gonna let y'all know, but y'all gotta figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna tell you who got beat up or who got this or that. You know what I mean? What happened to who? But I'm gonna tell you, like, and if you know, you know. If you know what I mean, if you piece it together, you piece it together. But it's still that skill that you gotta have to be able to hide things in words and put. You know what I mean? So I think hip hop, or a lot of hip hop, was made to be dissected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was
speaking
in code. It was our language.
Yeah.
And believe me, other people had to dissect it to figure it out too.
Yeah, and Nas did say something.
Fellas, I gotta go.
All right,
I gotta go.
He did say something
care,
on. All right, Josh, appreciate it. He said something on WTF, SMH. You know, but basically it was in general. It wasn't really about new. It was kind of in general about music as a whole, but about comparing him to whoever. I don't exactly remember, but. Yeah, I think 21 Savage, just a little salty. Just a little salty. That's it. Nas is relevant. Ain't no way in my mind you can tell me Nas ain't relevant. Sorry. It just can't. It just ain't. It just ain't. Nas is relevant.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Anyway.
I can't wait for his next solo project though.
Word. Who?
21, I'm talking about.
21? Oh. I was about to say, damn, Nas joint just dropped.
I'm dissecting that whole joint.
Yeah. I bet, you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night and doing a full album review, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure you join us. Tomorrow night, we're going to break it down song by song. When we did the initial reaction, I couldn't even really... we was just, we listened to it one time and then we started talking about it, right? Straight off of listening to it.
We might need to think about breaking it into part 1 and part 2.
It's a lot to talk about with it. You know what I mean? It's a lot to talk about with it. But basically, the way that we do the full album review, we listen to a piece of each song, then we talk about the song, we give that song a grade, and then at the end, we average out the grade of each song out of 10. We average out the grade of each song, and then that's what we give the album. All right. And the chat, you guys are involved in the entire thing, of course. You know what I mean? We take your grade, we take the chat's grade, we take our grade, and then that's how we get the grade of each song. Then that's how we get the grade of the album. So, I'm really, really looking forward to doing it because I've been listening to it nonstop and breaking down the songs in my head, what I want to say about certain songs. So, I'm looking forward to that. You know what I mean? Looking forward to that. Go ahead, Big Bubba. You was about to say something.
No, I was going to say, Sim, I remember me and you were talking, man, and I think he did it, Sim. I think Nas went 4 for 4. I really do.
You think? You said you think? How about I know he went 4 for 4 with Hit Boy? Ain't no, I think.
Yeah, man.
I know he went 4 for 4.
He definitely did, man. Because you know what's crazy, Sim? I should have said this to I should have said this to Josh, but even my girl said, mind you, she's 26 years old. She was like, yo, she's like, yo, she texted me, she's like, you listen to the new Nas yet? I said, yo, I'm listening to it right now. So I should have said that to Josh because, again, Nas is relevant. He went 4 for 4 people. This is crazy. This is abnormal. And right now, I'm going to be real. This is abnormal in music in general. In music in general, point blank period, when you're at a certain age, you kind of you usually just make your money on touring and, playing all your classics. I mean, you have Nas that King Disease 1, 2, B Magic, and King Disease 3. Are you kidding me? That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this too. Once a man, twice a child, crazy. Michael and Quincy, crazy. First Time is my favorite song off the album.
Okay, so you understand Once a Man, Twice a Child? You get that? You can relate to that? You can relate to that?
Well, I feel like one right now I'm a man. I was already child one. I'm a child.
I was gonna say you still once a child, man.
Hold on. I was a child. Now I'm a man. I'm gonna go back to being a child.
Okay. I don't know. Kind of a child to me still, a little bit.
Man.
Yeah, you're still in the, yeah.
Yeah. But I think those I like legit. I like legit because of the beat, man. Because come on now, I love the 5 heartbeats. But I think legit. Michael and Quincy, First Time, Once a Man, Twice a Child.
Those are like my make it tomorrow night, huh? I just mess with you.
Hey, listen, man.
Nah, he ain't
this
gonna
might
make
be the best.
He ain't gonna make it. He's trying to get it all out now. Oh, just go back and check out the video from last night. That's my grades. Trying to get it all out now. House Flan. House Flan says something. He said, Elvis Presley is relevant. He said, let them say they found a lost album and old folks will buy it up. And you know what? That joint would probably do $1 million the first week. $1 million the first week. You know what I'm saying?
Sim, they talk about Elvis. Wait till they ever can figure out what's happening with Prince Estate, and they release the albums from Prince Estate.
Yeah.
Watch Prince shoot up to #1.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean,
but anyway, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you join us tomorrow night. All right. Join us tomorrow night. We're gonna do the full album review. Should be pretty dope. I appreciate you all for jumping in tonight. Good conversation. And yeah, you know what? Like, I think, you know what I'm saying? We kind of been off and on for a while with the stoop, but I think we kind of back and ready to, take this thing to another level, I guess. We kind of here, ready to go. So, make sure you keep joining us, man. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing that full album review of King's Disease 3. I want to do the Freddie Gibbs album, too. I mean, Busta was supposed to drop an album, but he pushed it back.
Wonder why.
Right, you know what I mean? Mike H., we accept your apology. All right, you know what I'm saying? He was, kind of coming at the album on the first night, but you know what I mean? He got his senses together, listened to it again, and realized that it was a dope album.
D Public Enemy. I only hear him saying Knicks, bro. I don't know. He said Knicks.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time. We're going to head up out of here. And make sure you catch us tomorrow night. Peace.